I think it's lovely. So, but before I call this 100% done, I do want to make a belt. I think that a belt would change the look of it, so I could be more casual like this, or more, I don't know, more something with a belt. So, let's go back to the table. First thing is, these are my parts. This is a buckle that is a coverable buckle that I pulled off of a old belt that I did not want. And so I'm going to use the same thing. And these are reusable. If you ever have one, just pry it open and then you can make a new one. So I've got my buckle. This is a vertical blind. I actually got this set of vertical blinds about 10 years ago at a garage sale. And I cannot tell you how many times I have used pieces of vertical blind. It's rubber, and it's, got some kind of a funky fabricy embossed on here, but it is so handy. So I'm actually going to be using a strip of the vertical blind as a stabilizer inside of my belt, and it's going to be covered with what I have left of my fabric. So the first thing is, I need to determine how wide my belt is going to be. So if this is my buckle, and I want it to be able to go through fairly easily, I'm going to give myself about 1/8 each way. This is going to be the width of my belt. So I'm going to go ahead and cut a strip, and I'm going to cut it that goes around my waist plus about 10 inches to start with. All right, so this is it. I just slid my buckle on here to see how it's going to be. And it looks a little loose, but it is going to have fabric around it, and that's going to take a little bit of space up. Plus, this is going to be covered in fabric, so I wanted a little bit of space. So the next thing I need to do is get this covered with this. I can tell you that at this point, it's fairly easy to measure and see that I am going to need a seam allowance of about 1 7/8 to be able to make this work. So I'm going to remove my little belting piece here and just fold over a big strip and go ahead and mark and sew it so that I have a 1 7/8 inch on this side. So what I have done is just basically folded a big strip in half, way wider than I need. And I put my little, this is a magnetic guide, and I put that where I could measure over and find that it's the right width. Okay, so I am just going to sew this straight down. Okay, so now I've got this sewn, and I'm going to come back and trim it. And last time a couple of you highly recommended Gingher Pinkers, so I got myself a pair because my others were wearing out. So we're going to use those and trim this about 1/4 inch in. Okay, so one end of my belt I want to have slightly curved. So before I turn this right side out, I want to put a curved edge into it. So I'm just laying it here. I can get it straight, and I'm going to draw that little curved edge and come back and stitch that. So now I'm going to trim around my little curved edge here and use my lobster claw loop turner to flip it right side out, and I thread it onto the side with the rounder point. There's 2 different sides here. Pinch it and pull it over to the other side. Okay, then I can open it up, pull this off, and just pull it through. I'll show you how I'm going to attempt to do this. Is I have my little awl and I've poked a hole in the very tip of this. I need to start my hook from the top, from the closed end, that rounded closed end, and I've stuck it through the fabric, and I am pushing it all the way down to the open end down here. My hope is I can put that little latch hook through the hole I just punched with my awl. Okay, and now I'm just going to try to gently pull it up while I slide the casing over. I'm just going to ignore any twists and turns, but look at that, it worked so well. Oh my goodness, how fabulous is that? So hopefully I can just unhook it and pull it out. Tiny little thread there, but yeah. Okay, so I have a seam at the very edge, and I am not wanting this to be twisting around and things, so I'm actually going to iron this very lightly and stitch it. I'm going to run a stitching at about 1/4 inch down both sides, just to make sure how this goes with our buckle. Is it still going to fit? Yes, it's still going to fit really nicely. So I'm going to start down here at this end. See how it wants to twist? I don't want it to twist. So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to, at 1/4 inch in, I'm going to go up all the way around and back down. All right, so this is how she turned out. I think it's fine for the purpose that I need. And so now I need to work on covering my buckle. Now this is some of that double tack paper I used for my pillbox hat. It's just like it's like a big wide, oops. It's like a big wide piece of double-sided sticky tape. So what I'm going to do is this is the piece I want to cover. I'm going to turn it this way so it doesn't want to unroll on me. Okay, so this is the piece I want to cover. So I'm just going to outline the exact circle of it, and that's going to give me an idea of where I need to cut. All right, so that is my ring. Now I need my fabric to be long enough to come up and over and tuck in, but not so long it's going to get, overpopulated down in here. So what I'm going to do, get my other scissors. I'm going to come around here and cut it about 3/8 inch larger than that outside ring. Not exact, but fairly close. So here is my fabric, and I've got my little paper, and I'm going to try to pull off the paper on the back that does not have my little circles drawn on it. Okay, and smoothing this out, I'm just going to set it straight down on my fabric. And now I can cut out the fabric at the same size as the circle. Okay, now I'm also going to come in here and cut out an inner circle, also about 3/8 inch away from this inside circle edge here. So with these scissors, I think it'll work a little bit better because they're so much smaller. I'm just going to cut around. So this should give me plenty of fabric to wrap around the edges, but not so much that it's too much. But with my little scissors, I can always cut off more. So the thought is I pull off this paper and then set this down like that on this sticky stuff. Okay, so here's my sticky fabric. get it to stop touching me. All right, now very carefully, I'm going to try to center this on here somewhat. Tapping it down. Now, I'm going to need to make some clips pretty soon. Let's work on the outside first. That'll make it easier to grab. I'm just going to start bending it up the sides here until I get it pretty much up and over the sides. So now that I have up like this, I'm going to go ahead and come around because I could see where the edge of my metal is, and just make some random little clips because that should make it easier to tuck these edges inside. I'm going to do that all the way around and just kind of poke it in the best I can with my little awl tool. And you don't need to watch this whole thing. I'll show you when it's done. Okay, so that's what it looks like in there, which is pretty good, I think. So now I need to do the inside, and actually it looks a little large for me, so I am just going to come back at this point and trim a little more out from around my circle here till I get down to just over like a 1/4 inch. I think I had it a little too large. Okay, I think that looks better. And now I need to clip it again, just about to the edge. So I'm doing it in 4ths first, and then I'll just divide those, and then divide those again, like that. And I think that should give me enough little tabs to be able to bend them all up. Okay, so I'm just going to start pressing them up. Wants to flip on me. Alright, so they are all up, so now I can come back and tuck them in, like that, all the way around. Okay, so now I need to get this in here, and I'm just going to try to gently ease it in. These are bendable, so at the worst you can kind of wedge it out to slide it in and then bend it back together. It's getting there. Okay, just give me a couple more minutes to fudge this in. Actually, it's just about there. Alrighty, that looks pretty even. I'm just going to give it a little tappity tap tap. To settle it in, and if you feel like it might be a little bit loose, well, you can like squeeze the sides and that'll crimp it in. Okay, so now I have my buckle. So this belt needs to attach to the buckle, but I need to know exactly how long it's going to be, so I'm going to go ahead and try it onto my dress form really quickly. Okay, I think I want it to be right about this point, and right here is the end of my belting, Venetian blind belting, and I don't want to hand sew through that, so what I'm going to do is cut it about 1/2 inch further, tuck this under, and down here, and then I'm just going to come back and whip stitch this part here closed. So it's stitched closed. Now I can just pull my little belt through like that. So here we have our cute little belt. And I put it on and I realized, oh my goodness, it does not have a prong to hold everything from slipping. It's mostly for looks, definitely not to hold your pants up. But what I'm going to do later is after I try it on my own self and I know for sure where this is going to fit, underneath here, where no one else will see it, I have this really big snap here. It's one that I took off that leather coat actually. And I am going to put that really big snap right here underneath so that it's not visible, but it's strong enough that it's going to keep it from wanting to, one, flap open and shuttle out. So that's how I'm going to tackle that. Now, if you're doing this and you have the kind that has the little prong here, well, you're just going to have to do things a little bit differently, but honestly, all of this part is exactly the same. And you can always punch holes and put grommets in your belts and things like that. So anyway, just a little bonus. Hope you liked it. Bye-bye.